I'm Nick Seco from HomeRight Windows and Doors, and we're located in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. So we do vinyl replacement windows, we do steel and fiberglass entry doors, we do aluminum storm doors, and we do sliding patio doors, all made by Provia. The windows are a vinyl replacement window, and it could be anything from double hungs to casements to bay and bow windows and everything in between. So when somebody calls in the office and needs an estimate, they get Roxanne on the phone typically, and she would schedule an appointment for me to come out and take some measurements, provide some literature, go through what options we have, and then I would follow up within about 24 to 48 hours with an estimate with all the details of the products as well as the installed price. I find that we're typically much more affordable than the companies that you see advertising on TV or in a lot of other places. If they're spending a lot of advertising dollars, obviously they're passing those costs on to their consumers. You could go to our website at homerightwaynesboro.com, or you could call us at 717-749-4874.
Local and live, covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk TriState.
Welcome to Let's Talk TriState, all powered by HomeRight Windows and Doors in Waynesboro, the right choice, online, homerightwaynesboro.com. Joining us on Let's Talk TriState, we have Pauline Ruthrauff, and she is the founder as well as practice analyst for Family Care Services. Miss Pauline, it's a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you so much.
So you co-founded Family Care Services, it was 1977, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Take us back to the beginning of Family Care Services. How would you have gotten into Family Care Services and the founding of it?
Well, that's a long story. I could take all day on that, but I'll give you the short version. At that time, I was director of the partial hospitalization program at the Cumberland Valley Mental Health Center in Chambersburg. Mm-hmm. That no longer exists. And my best friend, Karen Slish at that time, she's Karen Weiss, was director of what would now be called Director of Intellectual Disability Services. Had a different name back then that wasn't as respectful.
Sure.
So she had a case, very moving case, of a little 5-year-old boy whose mother needed emergency surgery. He had intellectual disability and he was deaf. Mm. She tried to find services anywhere here in Franklin County to take care of that little boy until she was able to recover from surgery and care for him. She was a single mother. There was no one. That child ended up going to Sealands Grove Center for 6 weeks without the ability to communicate with those people, being separated from his mother at 5 years old. Wow. It was just heartbreaking. So she came to me and she said, we can do better than this. We have to find a way to provide services for children without putting them through the trauma of this kind of separation. And that service is simply respite care, where you provide service as long as needed for families. So we went to our boss and we said we want to develop a program to provide this service. It was Bill Kissinger at the time. I later hired Bill Kissinger at our agency. It was really very interesting. But we said we want to do this, and he said, no, we don't want to do that as part of the mental health center. So then we didn't know what to do, and we said, well, what if we do this on our own time? He said, I don't care what you do on your own time. So we started to develop the program on our own, and it was sort of like a hobby because there was no funding for this. We did it free of charge, and we put together a proposal. We submitted it to the county. Gary Barnes was the administrator. Back then it was called MHMR, and now it's Mental Health, Intellectual Disability, Early Intervention. And we got a contract with the county commissioners to provide this service. Just respite care for individuals with intellectual disability. Sure. That's how we started. We still do that service as well. And then over the years we added other services. We do foster care and adoption. But we continue to do this, and we've been committed to that from the very beginning. And it has It has not changed. Karen is still my best friend.
Wow.
She moved to Boston, so I ran it for myself for a while. I almost closed it down because I didn't want to work by myself.
Sure.
And I talked my husband into retiring from the West Virginia Air National Guard to help me.
Okay.
So we have worked together all these years.
Really pooled the resources, so
yes,
to speak. Yeah.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
And
And it's a noble cause. And you are a nonprofit, is that correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So for those who may be watching or hearing this who've never heard of Family Care Services, I think that we've really just kind of skimmed the top a little bit in what you just said in the genesis of Family Care Services. But we've had caregivers on before, representatives from the organization. Always a wonderful interview, as we like to say. So compassionate. You have to be to do that. But one of the arms, so to speak, that we've primarily focused on, and I think this will kind of give a bird's eye view, are the folks who take on folks with intellectual disabilities to essentially become part of their families. And these could be, they range in ages. I think the one we had, they were one of the people they had living with them was, I think, 70-plus-year-old woman who has intellectual disabilities. And this family who's taken them in, they are all this woman has. She relies on them for housing, food, activities to and from. They take her to all the family reunions, all the get-togethers. She has become like part of their family. And I think that is kind of in a nutshell what it has become is about family. It's about bringing someone in so that they feel welcome, correct?
That's absolutely right. And we all know everyone does better in a family.
Sure.
There are plenty of institutions around to take care of folks who have no one.
Right.
But children, and adults all do better in families. They're better protected. They're happier. The research shows that they do better.
More secure.
Yes,
Yeah,
all of that.
Just better development, as you said.
Yes, better brain development. They go further. They develop higher intelligence. All sorts of things when you're well connected with people, free of the trauma of not having a connection.
And in a lot of cases, I know that they also take on some jobs from time to time. And you have where they probably would not otherwise do that if they were just confined to an institution, which thank God those places exist as well. But it's that connection to people, feeling like you are part of a family. And it may be easy to think that folks who have those intellectual disabilities, that it might not bother them, but in fact it probably affects them most, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And you talked about employment, and it is amazing sometimes when people are connected within a family and they are supported and they feel safe, that they can reach their potential so much better and go so much further than they ever would have been able to do otherwise.
I think a part of it too is structure.
Yes.
When there isn't structure, everything tends to collapse, and that goes for everyone, regardless of intellectual disabilities or not. It is everyone craves structure, and I think a lot of the folks who suffer from intellectual disabilities crave it and need it more, and to the point where when they then don't have it, it can become a almost catastrophic event in their lives. But what kinds of services other than that do you provide at Family Care Services?
Other than the services for the people with intellectual disabilities?
Other than the ones that primarily we just talked about with folks living with caregivers and things of that nature.
Well, all of our services are provided within a family setting. So we don't have group homes, we don't have any kind of institutions or that sort of thing. So in addition to the caregiving provided in the homes that provide services for intellectual disability for adults, they are all adults. If you're younger than that, even with intellectual disability, you would go into the foster care system.
Okay.
Because to be in foster care, there must be, by definition, abuse or neglect involved.
Okay.
So children without intellectual disability, of course, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, all of that, or just neglect, which is actually the worst form of treatment for children. If they're just neglected, they're left alone, put into a room, that sort of thing, their brains simply will not develop. So even though abuse is a horrible, horrible thing, those kids fare better than the ones who are just very much neglected.
So we often don't process it that way, but it
Right.
makes sense when you lay it
Right.
out like that. That would be the case. Yes.
There's no intellectual stimulation to cause brain development. So it's so monumentally important that
What a catch-22 that is, though, because you have, as you said, if they are neglected and left to their own, their brains will not develop. But then you have the physical and sexual abuse that the mind can absorb what's going on because they have developed, and they can only absorb that because they've developed, and yet they're absorbing and taking on this trauma. So it almost seems like a no-win situation. But that's where an organization like Family Care Services comes in.
And fortunately, when children are taken out of that situation, their bodies and their brains often recover.
Yes.
When there is severe trauma, the effects, even though you can recover, the effects will last a lifetime. Even if they become highly successful and everyone looks at them and they say, well, nothing ever happened to you. You had a good life.
Right.
People cannot see when looking at someone what is behind,
Sure.
what is the history, what they have been through. So the sooner you take children out of those kinds of neglectful or abusive situations, the better they fare.
Absolutely.
Especially very young, 0 to 5, very, very important time to protect children. But regardless of the history, when they are taken out, when they are provided with safety, when they're given the ability to grow and thrive, they do recover. And some of them recover to the point that you would not know at all. They're highly successful people. Many of them have been through great trauma in their lives. And again, you don't know another person's journey unless they choose to tell you.
Well, I would say we don't know the contents of everyone's luggage.
Right.
But everyone's carrying something. It's just a matter of whether we can put it in the overhead compartment, or whether we got to check the bag.
Right. I know. I heard a quote once that said something like, "Be kind to people. Everyone is fighting a hard journey."
Yes. Yep. Everyone's going through something.
Yeah.
You never know, and kindness helps. Now, for those listening who may want to support Family Care Services, how is the best way to go about that? Obviously, we've talked before with folks we've had on for Family Care Services and said that there may be some who are listening or viewing that may be able to open their homes and go through that process. There may be others who are not. How is it that those who are not able can help with Family Care Services?
Well, we always accept donations, of course. Our adoption program always runs in the red.
Okay.
The state does not provide enough money to cover the services, and the services are very much needed.
Okay.
So Andrea Adams is in charge of our adoption foster care program. She's a wonderful, wonderful person and in charge of recruitment. She writes letters for our fundraising that we do every year.
Okay.
And she just does a wonderful job. So you can contact her directly. Our number is 717-263-2285. Andrea's extension is 209. So we can always, we're delighted for help in that way. We also offer information nights. Andrea runs them for people who don't know about our services or whether they might be interested. Lots of times it takes people years to decide to do this kind of work. And in addition, it's interesting, in addition to working at Family Care Services, my husband and I were in fact foster parents for over 20 years.
Yes, I did see that.
I could talk a very long time about that and the rewards as a family. I mean, we know we've helped children. We've helped many people. We took care of children with intellectual disability, took care of children that were gifted, and everything in between.
Yes.
But it's very interesting in life how what you do to help others often showers you with great rewards for doing that work. It's interesting. Just this past weekend, we had 2 big graduation parties at our house.
Okay.
I had 2 birth granddaughters that graduated from Shippensburg University, and the other one was for my adopted granddaughter's birth daughter.
Oh, wow.
And my adopted granddaughter was born, which was born in Philadelphia, but she was adopted by my stepdaughter. She's actually not birth related to either my husband or I, but they're ours.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And she's she's just a wonderful, wonderful person. She graduated with honors from Chambersburg Area Senior High School. We're so proud of her. So we have wonderful family events for these people. I have my walls covered with all these pictures of people who've come into our lives.
Yeah.
In many ways, by adoption, foster parenting, step parenting, birth parenting, all of those ways. And you can build your family and really get great reward and enjoyment from that. Not all of the stories are happy endings, but when you get happy endings, you get even one happy ending. We raised a foster son one time from the age of 14 through college. He also graduated Shippensburg University. He then got his master's degree in social work. He lives and works in Maine.
Wow.
So one story like that will sustain you for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I really encourage it. Anyone who has an interest in taking care of anyone or welcoming anyone into their home, or wants to learn more about intellectual disability, wants to learn more about how to help someone who suffered abuse and neglect, all of those things, give Andrea a call or just call our office or go on our website and check it out.
Yep.
Any of those ways, we'd be happy to talk with people.
I was going to round out the conversation by asking you about some of the more rewarding aspects of what you've done yourself in the last 50 years, almost 50 years of this, but you so wonderfully described that already. So there's nothing, you gave all of those personal examples from you, and we thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for everything that you've done and continue to do with Family Care Services, both in the professional atmosphere and then behind the closed doors at your home, all that you're doing and have done for the community. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you for allowing me to share it.
Of course, anytime. You have an open door here with Let's Talk TriState.
All right.
We've been speaking today with the practice analyst and co-founder of Family Care Services. This is Pauline Ruthrauff, and we thank her so much for joining us on Let's Talk TriState. And as always, we thank you for joining us on Let's Talk TriState.
Let's talk tri-state.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk TriState, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com.